insect-infected cave deaths ever. Tap in. I already know this video finna be interesting. Cause how you find yourself in a predicament to where you in a cave with insects.
The Wasp Nest Chamber Incident. On June 12, 2015, Katarina Novak prepared for a solo exploration of East Riesenwald Ice Cave in Austria. Katarina was
Okay, first of all, first mistake. You going cave diving. Why is that a sport? Why is that something you do in your free time? Second mistake, you going solo dolo in the caves like it's all cool. Third mistake, you in an ice cave. Like you think you froze on or something. Like how you find yourself in this predicament?
9 years old and worked as a geological researcher specializing in glacial formations.
Like, why are you
she had
in a cave?
explored over 40 caves across Europe in the past decade. By mid-morning,
See,
she had
that's what
reached
she's
the
messing
deeper
up.
sections of Eis Riesenwald, known for its massive ice structures and narrow passages. Katarina carried standard equipment including
Gang is literally known. It's literally known to be treacherous getting through there. You want to go there solo dolo with a hard hat and some rope, like that's gonna save your life.
safety harness, 200 feet of climbing rope, and a helmet with LED lighting. She was documenting a newly discovered chamber 700 feet below the tourist section. The chamber featured unusual...
And it's newly discovered. Like, ain't nobody been there. Ain't nobody been there. It just got found. Well, somebody been there if it's newly discovered, but it's barely been discovered. So there's probably parts that's not discovered. And you want to go in there solo dolo with just a rope and a hard hat and some lights and expect it to come out A-OK. Yeah, you tweeted.
Formations and potential biological activity. At 11:45 a.m., Katarina secured her safety line to a sturdy ice column and began descending into the chamber. As she reached a depth of 35 feet within the chamber, the ice column suddenly fractured.
Yo, I know that's got to be freezing. You 35 feet below in an ice column. Like,
Safety line snapped with a sharp crack that echoed through the cave.
GG
Katarina
right
fell
there.
28 feet onto a jagged
GGs.
ice shelf below. The impact fractured her left femur and caused a severe head injury. Despite her injuries, Katarina remained conscious and activated her emergency beacon. For the next 36 hours, Katarina struggled to survive in temperatures of 29 degrees Fahrenheit. Her
She shouldn't have
headlamp
been
batteries
there.
failed after 12 hours, leaving her in complete darkness. Unknown to Katarina, the chamber was home to colonies of Glaciobius nivalis, microscopic ice cave mites that thrive in glacial environments. These creatures, measuring just
what is a scorpion fly? This exotic alien-esque creature then crawling out the ground. What is
0.3
this?
millimeters, are normally harmless scavengers. As Katarina's breathing became labored from the cold and trauma, the mites were drawn to the warm moisture of her breath. They began entering her respiratory system through her nose and mouth.
Nah, gang. No. They gave her the what's the girl name from Mortal Kombat with all the bugs? They gave her that treatment. Whatever her name is. That's a oh my no.
In periods of unconsciousness.
And they're
By the
scavengers.
second night, thousands had colonized her bronchial passages. Each time she inhaled, more mites were drawn deeper into her lungs. At 48 hours after the fall, rescue teams located Katarina's position, but were delayed by a narrow passage requiring specialized equipment. When they finally reached the chamber at 2:15 a.m., Katarina had been dead for approximately 12 hours. Her body temperature had dropped to 82 degrees Fahrenheit. The rescue team noted unusual movement.
So did she die to extreme cold or to get ate by the mites, or was it just a combination of the both? I mean, R.I.P. But at the same time, you put yourself in this predicament. Why you out cave diving in an ice cave? On top of that, it's not no regular cave. It's an ice cave.
Katarina's
35
skin
feet
around
below
her
the
nose
ground.
and mouth. The autopsy revealed her entire respiratory system had been colonized by an estimated 1.2 million Glaciobius
1.2
nivalis
million.
mites. The medical examiner described her lungs as moving independently due to the dense populations consuming the tissue from within. Cause of death was determined to be a
Wow.
combination of hypothermia, internal bleeding, and respiratory failure accelerated by the mite infestation. The human hive incident. On
Nope, we're not doing this. Nope.
This
Bro, I have to move
game,
my screen all the way down here now.
you're not ready for it.
Yeah, I'm definitely getting YouTube Premium. That's what I need to invest in.
On March 8th, 2019, James McFadden entered Sistemahuatla Cave in Oaxaca, Mexico. James was 34 years old and an experienced Scottish spelunker who had documented caves on 5 continents. He was part of a 4-person team mapping the southern branches of Sistemahuatla, the 8th deepest cave system in the world. By early
Yo, you decided to go in the 8th deepest cave system in the world. Like, I don't understand what these people's thought process be. Like, you go into a cave and expect to come out A-okay? Like, why are you exploring this? What does this like have to do with advancing human civilization? You're not finding no cures or nothing in here. You in a cave doing what? Looking at insects and rocks.
Noon, the team had reached a depth of 3,200 feet. The team split into pairs to explore different passages. James chose to investigate a narrow, unmapped tunnel that measured just 24 inches wide and 36 inches high. He wore standard equipment, including a helmet with dual LED lights, knee pads, and carried 40 hours of emergency supplies. James informed his partner he would return within 3 hours and proceeded alone into the passage. At approximately 2:40,
like, whenever they be cave diving, do they not consider the research or the backgrounds of incidents that have happened in caves? Like, people only be bringing like enough supplies for not even 2 days. They at least could pack like 3 or 4 days of supplies. I know that they probably can't pack as much because they have to fit into tight spaces. But still,
a 4.3 magnitude earthquake struck the region. Deep in the cave, James felt the ground shift.
Like
a partial collapse occurred 35 feet behind him, sealing his exit route with fallen rocks. Ahead, the passage narrowed to just 18 inches, too tight for him to continue forward. James was trapped in a section 10 feet long with no way out. For the first 24 hours, James used his radio to communicate with his team. They attempted to reach him, but couldn't safely remove the collapsed rocks. The narrow passage made it impossible to use larger equipment. By the second day, his water supply ran out. His teammates continued working while waiting for a specialized rescue team from Mexico City. On day 3, James's radio transmissions became increasingly incoherent as dehydration affected his mental state. His last communication at 56 hours after the collapse was simply, "No more light, very thirsty." The rescue team from Mexico City arrived on the 4th day, but required 2 more days to safely clear the passage. When rescuers finally reached James' location,
So since he was underground, trapped with no oxygen, and he's just exhaling CO2, and he's just being surrounded by CO2, that will cause the hallucinations?
After the collapse, they found he had died of dehydration approximately 4 days earlier. What they discovered next shocked even the experienced team. James's body had been colonized by a previously undocumented species of cave-dwelling carnivorous ant. The colony had...
He discovered a new species of ant and got packed up by him. First discovery of these ants, they already packing somebody up.
Automatically hollowed...
These ants moving like King Von. How you just not get discovered and your first discovery is you packing somebody up? They moving like primetime King Von.
Corpse while preserving the skin almost intact. The rescue team leader described finding a human-shaped hive with complex tunnel systems throughout the remains.
Husk.
The ants had created ventilation holes through the skin and formed specialized chambers within the thoracic and cranial cavities. Biologists later classified the species as Leptogenys cavernicola, noting their unique ability to preserve host tissue while consuming internal organs. The ants had completely removed James's organs, leaving only a hollow shell preserved by natural formic acid secretions. Consumed from within incident. On July 17, 2012, identical twins Michael and Robert Parker ventured into Lechuguilla Cave in New Mexico. Michael and Robert were both 26 years old, and amateur cave enthusiasts from Colorado. They had been exploring cave...
They're not even experienced. They're amateurs. So, like, why would you think this is okay? You can explore, like, 3 or 4 caves maybe, and you're like, you know what? We finna go in this cave. We're gonna be all right.
Since high school, but lacked professional training. The twins entered the cave without proper permits or registration, using a small unmapped entrance they had learned about from an online forum. Lechuguilla Cave is strictly protected by the National Park Service due to its pristine condition and unique ecosystems. Access requires special permits and extensive documentation. By mid-afternoon, the twins had descended approximately 800 feet into...
Okay, I see the interest in cave diving when it's like an open space cave, when it has like actual natural beautiful landmarks, like it has like pools of water where like you go in a cave and it's big enough where you can look around. But if you go in cave diving to fit in the tight places, yeah, there's something wrong with you mentally.
Unexplored section of the cave. They carried basic equipment including helmets with lights, 50 feet of rope,
like
and enough water for 12 hours. At 4:15 p.m., the brothers entered a chamber that showed no signs of previous human visitation. The room was approximately 30 feet wide with a ceiling height of 22 feet. Their lights revealed unusual rock formations covered in a reddish-brown organic material. What they didn't realize was that they had disturbed a massive colony of Cryptops speleoraptor, a rare species of cave-dwelling centipede that can grow up to 14 inches long. The brothers' lights and body heat agitated agitated the colony. Within minutes, hundreds of centipedes began descending from the ceiling and walls. Robert was the first to notice movement on his boots. He shook his leg, dislodging several centipedes, which immediately became more aggressive. The brothers attempted to retreat, but the chamber's entrance was already swarming with the creatures. The centipedes began climbing up their legs and
it's not like they even got stuck or anything in the cave. They started getting attacked by a swarm, a horde. And aren't centipedes poisonous?
Any available opening in their clothing. Several entered Michael's ear canal, causing him to scream in pain. His screams appeared to trigger a frenzy, with more centipedes dropping from above. Robert pulled his brother toward the chamber entrance, but both were quickly overwhelmed by the sheer number of arthropods. Park rangers noted
they got eaten alive by centipedes. That's gotta be, like, the worst way to go. Think about it, 14-inch centipedes, they probably like this big. Imagine those just attacking you, a swarm of those. That's a nightmare feel right there. They all in their ears, all throughout their skin. Oh my. That's nightmare feel.
Twins' illegally parked vehicle and initiated a search when it remained in place for 48 hours. The search team found the brothers' bodies 3 days after they entered the cave. Both were completely enveloped in writhing masses of centipedes. The creatures had systematically entered their bodies through every orifice. The centipedes had first targeted mucous membranes and soft tissues, including eyes, nasal passages, and ear canals. Death occurred approximately 40 minutes after first contact due to a combination of shock, blood loss, and respiratory failure when centipedes
40 minutes? They got swarmed by centipedes for 40 minutes straight. That's just RIP. That's sad because it's not like they got stuck or anything. They were trying to see some natural beauty and they got packed up by centipedes. I mean, that's why they weren't supposed to be there, but
entered their tracheas. The autopsy revealed that their screams had created vibrations that attracted more insects, creating what one rescuer described as a feeding frenzy that stripped flesh from bone in patches. Living carpet incident. On October 3rd, 2010, Alexei Kuznetsov prepared to explore Krubera Cave in the Republic of Georgia. Alexei was 31 years old and an experienced Russian cave diver with over 200 documented expeditions. He was part of a 6-person international team mapping the lower sections of Krubera, the world's deepest known cave. By day 4 of the expedition, the team had reached a depth of 6,824 feet below the entrance. The team explored a previously undocumented water-filled passage. Alexei wore a dry suit with thermal undergarments, carried twin air
I swear they be going to these undocumented, uncharted areas of a cave and think they finna come out fine. Every part of the cave they have died in has been undocumented or uncharted territory. You're not supposed to be there for a reason.
And used a primary light with 2 backups. The passage extended horizontally about 600 feet from their base camp. The temperature at this depth was a constant 41 degrees Fahrenheit with 100% humidity. At approximately 2:30 p.m., Alexei separated from his dive partner to examine a small side tunnel. When Alexei failed to return after 3 hours, the team initiated search protocol.
That's always the GGs. Like, if you going into a cave with a group of people, why would you separate yourself in the caves? You know how many twists and turns, canals, and little narrow passage spots are in a cave, and you want to go solo dolo, split up?
A minor equipment failure had caused his primary light to malfunction. In the darkness, Alexei took a wrong turn in the complex underwater passage. When his air supply ran low, he removed his tanks and attempted to find an air pocket. He emerged in a small chamber disconnected from the main passage. Alexei was trapped in a chamber roughly 15 feet in diameter, with a 3-foot airspace at the top. The water temperature and his wet condition rapidly led to hypothermia. His backup lights provided minimal illumination for approximately 10 hours before failing completely. Alexei used his dive computer to mark the walls, trying to find an underwater connection back to the main passage. Unknown to Alexei, the chamber contained a dense population of cave-dwelling isopods and Leptodyrus hochenwarti beetles. These creatures are normally detritivores, feeding on organic debris. As Alexei's body temperature dropped and his movement slowed, the insects became...
it was wraps. Once his body temperature dropped and he had a bunch of scavenger insects, they already knew. It was packed. GG's.
Increasingly attracted to his body.
It's like once that body drops, that body temperature, well, while all the surrounding is cold and there's still steam and stuff, that just attracts all of them.
and the carbon dioxide in his breath. By the second day, Alexei had lost consciousness from hypothermia. The beetles and isopods began entering his body through his ears, nose, and mouth. The insects multiplied rapidly in the warm, protected environment of his body cavities. The rescue team found Alexei's body partially submerged in the shallow water. What appeared to be a dark covering on his face and exposed skin was actually thousands of insects moving in and out of his body. When they attempted to move him, they discovered what one rescuer described as a living carpet of insects consuming him from the inside out. The Georgian Speleological Society documented that an estimated 80,000 individual insects had colonized Alexei's remains. The official cause of death was hypothermia, but the case was noted in their 2010 journal as one of the most disturbing examples of postmortem cave fauna activity ever.
All right, first of all, why are most of these places that these people have went to uncharted? Like, why are you entering uncharted lands? Like, that's got to be crazy to get packed up by a swarm of insects like that.